So when I say that black people are the Indians, I'm telling the truth. We are the goddamn Indians. We've been the Indians the whole time. Your ass has been living under a false ass history.
There's a really strange phenomenon happening on social media where a very small group of African Americans are claiming to be the real Native Americans in the United States. And if that claim seems to be completely outlandish to you, you're not alone, because it's actually pseudo-archaeology, which is the practice of interpreting the past using methods, theories, or assumptions that directly contradict archaeological and scientific methods. These narratives often distort, misrepresent, or completely fabricate evidence to uphold their claims. Their arguments are all over the board and harmful to indigenous people, because they are steeped in white supremacy and settler colonialism. Let's take a look at a few of their arguments and dismantle them. First, the Siberian argument. They like to make the argument that indigenous people are not truly indigenous because we are the descendants of the ancient people who migrated from Siberia 15 to 30,000 years ago. Let me put that in context for you. 15,000 years ago, the Ice Age was still happening. Woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers were still roaming the earth. The Sahara Desert was still green. And if you want to apply the argument to anyone else here, right now, let's take white Americans, for example. You would have to call them Middle Easterners because Europe at that time was under ice. The Siberian argument reeks of settler colonialism because it erases native history and works to destabilize native land rights and legal protections. Because if no one is truly indigenous, then there are no obligations, no treaties to uphold, no lands to return, and no justice to pursue. The next round of arguments they like to deploy revolves around the Dawes Rolls, which I hope they know is a colonial tool, not a sacred record to determine who is or who isn't native. The Dawes Rolls were created to dismantle tribal nations and assimilate us into white settler society. People were categorized in racist and strategic ways. The rolls are useful for better understanding US policy, not for defining indigeneity. One of the more disturbing arguments that these folks like to make is that Native American children were sent to boarding schools to learn how to replace and be the real natives. Like you, it takes me a lot of mental gymnastics to even consider that as a reality, because the boarding school era is a very well documented and traumatic event that happened to Native kids who were forced to be at these schools to assimilate into white society. The bottom line is, we know the truth. Native people have been in relation to this land for at least 15,000 years and at most 30,000 years. And in that time, we developed thousands of ways to say Shamanastan Shuja'atkhadiyini, Mother Earth and Father Sky. The bones of our ancestors are here and nowhere else in the world. That is why, to this day, Native people will always be at the front lines of environmental activism, protecting the water, defending the sacred, and demanding for land back. Because indigeneity doesn't come from governmental designations. It comes from here.